Quiet on set, please. And action.
Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. In review today is Ballerina on 4K Blu Ray. Let's take a look at the tech specs. It was shot on Arri Alexa 35 cameras using Hawk Class X and Kowa Prominar lenses in 4.6K. It's got a 4K DI, the aspect ratio is 239:1, it's got a Dolby Atmos soundtrack, the disc supports HDR10 and Dolby Vision, the full enhancement layer for the Dolby Vision grade. The HDR10 grading has a maximum content light level of 997 nits and a maximum frame average light level of 396 nits. It's a 100GB disc. The average bitrate is 67.73 megabits per second for the HDR10 base layer, with a further average 6.69 megabits per second for the Dolby Vision full enhancement layer. The runtime is 125 minutes and it's rated 15. John Wick's spin-off Ballerina shoots its way onto 4K Blu Ray courtesy of Lionsgate, packing a punch with its digitally shot visuals and torching its Blu Ray counterpart with a flaming hot HDR grading. Although shot digitally, the image has been adorned with a light to medium layer of digital grain, which although it isn't the most organic looking, it still gives it a modest filmic look and slightly softens the edges of the digitally shot source. The use of Alexa 35 cameras combined with Hawk Class X anamorphic lenses also forms a key part of the film's aesthetic, creating a slight warping and distortion around the edges of the frame, which the production embraced. The added softness from the grain only holds back the detail levels so far though, with an abundance of clarity and definition still on offer, with close-ups on the lead cast revealing the finest nuances like individual pores, wrinkles and lines, alongside hair follicles, makeup and Ian McShane's pearly whites. Clothing pieces likewise are rich in detail, particularly on the variety of garments that Ana de Armas wears, with everything from suits to dresses to combat gear, all exhibiting some good textural detail, and environments also benefit from a good level of depth and dimension, such as in the dark and gloomy Ballerina school, the lavish interiors of the Prague Continental, or the quaint surroundings of the snowy village. The VFX and CG is at a similar level to the franchise's previous entries, with a few prevalent blue screen shots which lack authenticity and some obvious fully digital elements, or digitally enhanced shots, which are made even more noticeable with the uptick in resolution on the 4K. But I must also give a lot of credit to the VFX teams who worked on this, as there are several very seamlessly blended and almost invisible CG elements which are likely to go unnoticed by some, like the entire exterior of the Continental, and large portions of the interior. Plenty of background enhancement and rotoscoping work in the nightclub sequence, increasing the amount of dry ice and adding more elaborate lighting and detail to the roof and some of the walls. Some more work was also put into shootout sequences to make them seem more chaotic and destructive, adding in more smoke and increasing the volume of debris, whilst also extending backgrounds and adding buildings to exterior shots, and adding extra CG elements to the cars such as reflections, broken glass and smoke. As for the colour palette, the film predominantly takes place in dark and nighttime settings, which are combined with some bold and vibrant lighting choices, favouring blue tones for large portions like in the opening or climatic scenes, whilst also mixing in some purples and pinks like in the nightclub, or some reds like in the Prague Continental, alongside a few warmer golden hues scattered throughout. It's these colourful lighting choices that gives the HDR gradings both HDR10 and Dolby Vision flavours and the wider colour gamut a great deal to work with. And taking a look at the HDR analysis tool in real time, we can see that large portions of the opening sequence makes considerable use of the P3 gamut and some deep blue tones, and with the orange hues in an explosion. The following scene with Ian McShane also uses P3 with more blue shades. And then scenes in the Ballerina school continue the theme using P3 with the blue accent of the light. The nightclub scene is a big standout for the wider colour gamut usage, with the purple, pink and blue lighting colours, showing increased depth and saturation by using the P3 and 2020 gamuts. The cooler blue shades in the snowy third act uses P3 in the daytime section, but most prominently when it turns to night. And then the end credits is the final showcase with a range of colours using both P3 and 2020 to great effect. Highlights also benefit from some extra intensity with the HDR grading, mainly averaging around 400 nits, but occasionally peaking over that for the more intense light sources. And taking a look at the heat maps also in real time, we can see that an explosion in the opening gets up to about 360 nits. The lights in the nightclub hover around 300 to 350 nits. And car headlights and the lights in the third act are also kept to a similar level at around 350 to 400. The most dazzling and spectacular highlight brightness though comes from the flamethrower sequence, which gets up to around 500 to 600 nits and is a feast for the eyes to view in HDR, with you almost being able to feel the ferocity and heat of the flames. Black levels are strong, shifting between inky black and an elevated bluey grey in certain stylised sections, but still revealing good depth and detailing when necessary, which definitely helps with the film's frequent darker settings. And the white balance is crisp and clean, showing no signs of bloom or bleeding, which the snowy scenes, particularly the daytime section, highlights nicely. To top it all off, the image is supported by a strong encode here on a 100GB disc, which handles the layer of grain and other complex elements like smoke and debris without any issues. As for the audio, Ballerina comes equipped with an action-packed Dolby Atmos soundtrack that's generally quite lively and engaging, but unfortunately doesn't always reach the heights, literally, of some of the previous entries in the franchise. The height channels, unfortunately, are a bit lackluster and are surprisingly a bit limited in use for a film of this nature, but there are still a few small moments which do take advantage of the top layer with some appreciative dynamic activity, such as in the opening with some footsteps briefly engaging the heights. Then when they leave the Prague Continental at the 56-minute mark, there's a short moment where a train goes overhead, which we can hear with the height channels isolated. When Eve throws a grenade at 1 hour 4 minutes in, there's a cool environmental effect which has the light swinging above. Then the climatic flamethrower sequence makes the most significant use of the soundstage, with the flames shooting over and across the viewer. But some of the effects that you might think would be mixed into the heights, like the heavy rain in Prague, unfortunately remains in the lower channels with no output above. Surround channel activity is pretty frequent and nice and engaging throughout, producing a good amount of output in the film's almost wall-to-wall action sequences, such as in the nightclub with gunfire and frenzied crowds, or in a grenade-centric scene with explosions and the subsequent debris, all filling out the lower channels to great effect. The subwoofer output is robust, with some nice boom to explosions, particularly in the grenade sequence, some good impact to gunfire, especially shotguns, and some great rhythmic rumbles from the music in the nightclub. Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richards' musical score has a great presence in the soundstage and is reproduced with good fidelity, featuring a familiar John Wick essence with a similar sonic and stylistic tone that enhances the film's action and suspense. Dialogue is rendered crisp and clear and is always easy to comprehend, with no problems to report. To summarise, I'll give the picture a 9. Lionsgate's 4K Blu Ray presentation of Ballerina displays a nice improvement over the 1080p Blu Ray and boasts some strong technical merits, exhibiting great detail and clarity levels and some brilliant enhancements to the colour palette and dynamic range courtesy of the HDR gradings, with extensive use of the wider colour gamut and a nice amount of brightness and intensity to the highlights where appropriate. And I'll give the audio a 7. Although the height channel output is rather limited and may be viewed as a misfire by some, the Atmos mix is still a solid accompaniment to the film, with plenty of great engaging surround channel activity and some robust and punchy LFE. If you're a fan of the John Wick franchise, this release comes highly recommended. So these are my thoughts on Ballerina on 4K Blu-ray. If you would like to purchase this release, you can use my Amazon affiliate link in the description below, which can earn me a small commission and helps to support the channel. It's much appreciated. Thanks for watching guys, enjoy your movies. Bye!